All right, this is going to be demonstrate. This story demonstrates Roosevelt's character as far as how he treats the American people. In 1902, there was a coal strike, a major one, of one of the biggest coal producers in America. All their workers went on strike. They just quit working. And they wanted a few things, okay? They wanted a 20% pay raise, a 9-hour workday instead of a 12-hour workday like they were doing. And they wanted closed shop, which means that you had to be a union member in order to be in that coal mine, in order to work there. Now, the mine owner was a robber baron named George Bayer. And he really showed his true colors here. We had talked about something called social Darwinism before. Social Darwinism is the belief that God made the robber barons better than you, and since he put them in charge, who are you to question them, right? So, George Bayer's response is a demonstration of social Darwinism. He says, the interests of laboring men will be cared for not by labor unions, but by Christian men to whom God has given control of the property of the country. So in other words, he's saying, labor unions won't take care of the workers. God put me in charge of this mine. I will take care of the workers. And by the way, he didn't want to give them any pay raise. He wanted a 12-hour workday, and he wanted open shop, which means that you can't be a union member. Now, whose side would Roosevelt take here? Because the problem is the coal mine workers went on strike at the best time for them. In the winter, we need a lot of coal in America to keep houses warm, buildings warm. Not only that, but to mention the factories run on coal. The Great White Fleet itself ran on coal. All ships ran on coal. Trains ran on coal, okay? So shutting down major coal production means shutting down the economy of the United States of America. Whose side would Roosevelt take? The workers or the robber baron? Neither one. He took the side of the American people. Roosevelt went in and he said, you guys need arbitration. You need a neutral third party to figure out who's right and who's wrong. Roosevelt said, if the mine does not open, then I am going to send the U.S. military into the mine, and they are going to mine the coal themselves and give it away for free to the American people. Now, who loses that in that situation? Well, the mine owner definitely loses. He gets his coal stolen, right? The workers lose because they don't get paid for working. But who wins? The American people. So they went through arbitration, and what they decided on was they were going to have a 10% pay increase, which is half of what they wanted. They were going to have the 9-hour workday, okay, which is what the union wanted, and they were going to have no closed shop. So the union didn't get closed shop. Literally, they split it in half, okay, and they went back to work, and America got its coal, and people didn't freeze to death, the economy didn't shut down, and Roosevelt won a major victory as champion for the American people. So that's the 1902 coal strike for you. Let's see what we got here. We got a nice colorized photograph of Roosevelt out there on the campaign trail, right? He is giving a speech. So we have Roosevelt the Trust Buster. That is the next section we're going to talk about, okay? Now, you all know what a trust company is. You should if you've been paying attention. The trust company is a monopoly. It's a group of companies that act together as one company. In other words, a monopoly. So we got some political cartoons. Now, in the first one, okay, you have Roosevelt standing, this little guy. Usually he's a giant, right? Okay. Roosevelt is standing there on Wall Street in New York. Okay, this is the New York Stock Exchange. And we have J.P. Morgan right here and a bunch of other giant robber barons, and they're extending a hand to Roosevelt. But as they extend the hand to Roosevelt, notice behind his back is a club. So they're trying to get Roosevelt to get on board with the robber barons, to continue this gilded age of corruption. And Roosevelt stands there heroically with his giant sword to slay the robber baron. All right, the next one. Bad trust. We got a dead bear, bad trust, and Roosevelt's obviously the hunter that killed it. Roosevelt did not believe that all robber barons were bad. He didn't believe that all of them were good either. Okay? He took the side of the American people. That was his stance. He said there are good trust companies and there's bad ones. And there's a very simple definition. Okay? Good trust companies help people. Bad trust companies hurt people. So figure out which trust company you're in and you'll know whether or not Roosevelt's coming after you. Okay? All right, we have the last one, Roosevelt as the lion tamer. Okay? All of these, I know it's hard to see on video, but all of these say trusts, different kind of trusts. They got steel trust, lumber trust, all these. These are the trust companies. They're coming to devour Roosevelt. It says Wall Street in the back here. And Roosevelt is whipping them, and taming the lions of the trust company. So he's not going to just let things stay the way they were. He's going to change things and make it a square deal, right? Like his domestic policy. Everybody gets equal opportunity, right? Equality of opportunity. So there was a law that we talked about before called the Sherman Antitrust Act. It's the Sherman Anti-Monopoly Act. And if you remember when they passed that in 1890, basically it said that trust companies would be illegal. But the robber barons did not take that laying down. They paid off the Supreme Court to actually make that law about labor unions for about 10 years. Well, Roosevelt says that's bullcrap, okay? This is an antitrust law, and we're going to use it as such. So Roosevelt is the first president to successfully prosecute a robber baron and to get them to break up their empire by using, after 10 years, the first successful use of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Roosevelt wanted the Supreme Court to close loopholes and to use the act to regulate big business, starting with E.C. Knight. Who's E.C. Knight? Okay, if you remember, he's the sugar daddy. Okay, he's the number one or the only sugar processor in America. Okay, well, he got it done. The Supreme Court ruled that the American Sugar Refining Company must be broken up. This started a war between big business and Roosevelt. Okay, now because he won against E.C. Knight, because the Sherman Antitrust Act was used successfully, and the American people's food prices went down as a result, because now he can't charge outrageous rates for sugar because he doesn't have a monopoly anymore. So as food prices fall, the American people see Roosevelt as a hero, and he uses the Sherman Antitrust Act then as his sword to go and decapitate the robber barons. Which robber barons? The bad ones, right? He's got good trust companies and bad ones. He goes after the bad ones. And every time he gets a victory against one of these bad robber barons, the American people love him more and more and more, and politicians get behind Roosevelt more and more and more, and the Gilded Age fades away. Okay? So the Sherman Antitrust Act, while it sounds like a boring thing, is actually what ended the Gilded Age and brought us out of this horrible time of corruption and robber baron power. So because of his victory against E.C. Knight, Roosevelt aggressively enforced the Sherman Antitrust Act against other trusts. Roosevelt breaks up Standard Oil and U.S. Steel. This right here is Rockefeller's company. U.S. Steel, if you remember from earlier chapters, that used to be Carnegie Steel, but it was sold to J.P. Morgan. So he is going after everybody that he considers to be a bad robber baron. Okay? Let's see. But his success was limited by their ability to reorganize. So unless you were considered a monopoly, they couldn't break you up, unless you control the whole business yourself. So they take Standard Oil and they break it up into like 70 different companies, right? And then the pieces of those companies buy each other back, and there's mergers and all this stuff until there's one big oil company again. And at that point, then the government can come back in and bust them all up again, okay? Right now, there's a court case that's looming in America, and there's one big monopoly that Congress is probably going to go after soon, and that's Amazon. Okay, Jeff Bezos, the guy in charge of Amazon, he is on the hit list. Okay, so don't be surprised if Amazon gets broken up into 4 or 5 different companies. So that way there's competition again. All right. Teddy Roosevelt believed in good trust and bad trust. Like I said before, good trust help people, bad trust hurt people.